Hey everyone, this is Quentin Figueroa with SlayerMint.com, and I wanted to talk to you about the Russian hacks that we seem to be hearing so much about. So anyone who has done a little bit of research into American history knows kind of a few of the basics, which is one, how America was formed to begin with. So America wasn't formed in protest to Russia or against Russia, or Russia wasn't even involved with America. The Revolutionary War was fought against King George III of England. So America was a breakaway from England. And we know this because that's what the Revolutionary War was about. And Thomas Jefferson writes about it in the Declaration of Independence. And then you have the War of 1812 that happens, which is again Europe being upset about these American colonies breaking off, and they try to recapture them. And the War of 1812 doesn't quite work out. So then you have them going back to the drawing board, and then you have the Civil War, which is in large part orchestrated, once again, out of England to try to recapture or to break up or to disrupt and stop America. Because this whole purpose of this whole American experiment was a huge step forward in freedom, and was a huge problem for England and these European royalty who wanted to control and not allow this type of thing to happen. And then, so of course, then they go back to the drawing board and they say, okay, well, how about we come up with this thing called the Federal Reserve? So just like the Bank of England, the people who control and are behind England come up with the Federal Reserve, and they create a central bank there, and that way they now control America through the currency, through the money system. So you have this whole American history, which is a history of England trying to reclaim America. And the whole point of America was to break away from England and to have that freedom. And England and the people behind England and a lot of Europe are these control freaks, these European royalty, these secret societies, and these people who want to kind of rule the world. And these are the people who are behind kind of the media and all these things you hear about. And anybody who's done a little bit of research knows this. And this is kind of the history that's been going on for a long time now. And so when you see something in the media about Russia hacking and this kind of thing, you almost immediately know it's the same kind of BS and propaganda. Russia isn't the problem. Russia has always been kind of the front man or the boogeyman that is used, just like the Middle East and these people. I mean, it's the same crap going on. They go and they create tons of problems and conflicts in the Middle East, and then when the Middle East comes and retaliates, they act like, oh, whoa, these guys are terrible. What are they doing? When you went and agitated them and caused all this. And I'm not saying that the Middle East and everything's fine there. I'm just saying that there's other ways to look at it, and there's kind of a global, bigger picture to look at. And it usually involves royalty out of Western Europe and these places that are manipulating and pulling the strings and orchestrating things at a much higher level than we generally see. So with the media and the talks about Russia, we have to first understand Russia isn't the enemy. The enemy has never been Russia. The problem has always been England. But we seem to have forgotten that. We seem to have forgotten that you have these powerful societies out of Western Europe and England that are pulling the strings and manipulating America through media, through government, through religion, through all types of organizations to try to sway the American people a certain way. So, I mean, with Russia, we already kind of know this. So we have the whole Cold War that happened with Russia, right? Where supposedly Russia was a communist system, which is only supposedly a Russian idea, but if you research it, it's not Russian at all. It comes right out of Britain and England. It's just another kind of, like Karl Marx was a front man for people behind him to create a system that would allow for more control over people. So these things that are supposedly new and smart, like socialism or the more extreme communism, all that is a way for really smart people that are behind these countries, that's a way for them to recapture these countries and to recontrol the people. So they come up with this thing that sounds good, like communism or socialism. They throw it out to people, and then they say, look, if you don't want to help the common person, if you don't want to share resources, and you don't want to have no rulers and no money system and all this crap, then you should have communism, which is better for people. So they create this kind of story that, people who want to feel good and are emotional and don't really think about it or the consequences, they go with it. So then you have this kind of problem where you have this spread of socialism and communism. But anyway, Russia is kind of where we saw communism originally, right? So it was put there by people like Vladimir Lenin was financed out of freaking New York City. So he's not a Russian person doing Russian things. This is a American, because so a lot of American banks are tied to European banks, right? You have these kind of groups of powerful people in Western Europe and America that, like the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Warburgs, the Windsors, whatever. These people have their banks and they finance people to try to, create movements and sway opinion. I mean, we see this heavily with just George Soros, right? So this kind of thing is happening all the time. And this is what was happening during the Cold War. So you have these British American people trying to create communism and set it up over in Russia as a test to see kind of how this will work and if it can be done, and to, create control over there. And then eventually kind of bring it over to America and that kind of thing. Because again, the whole point is to reclaim America and to suppress these freedom systems that promote, individualism, private property, and markets and these kind of things. So they're not happy about losing America. So they've been trying to reclaim it and come up with ways to sway and control people ever since. So the Cold War was simply that. With Russia, they used Russia as kind of a guinea pig and a scapegoat. They were saying that these Russians had communism, and it was so supposedly we're going up against Russia trying to compete, and they're creating nuclear weapons, and they're a huge threat, and this communist system, it just needs to be squashed, and it's terrible, and all this stuff, right? So this is kind of what was going on with the Cold War. And then of course afterwards it turns out it's total BS, total nonsense. Most of these communists are financed out of England and America. It's just a total BS thing that they have a media kind of give a spin, and they try to brand it and sway people into thinking that this communist thing is so productive and successful, and it's terrible, it's taking over, whatever. And it turns out, no, they didn't have money. America was financing them to keep the people from starving, and all this other crap is just typical. So communism didn't work, and it was a huge scare to sway American people into, creating lots of nuclear weaponry and all this stuff. And now we hear about Russia once again hacking and being such a terrible, crazy country. And they're just so bad and blah, blah, blah. So it's the same type of thing. This is the Cold War 2.0. Russia isn't hacking crap. If they are hacking, it's like anybody else could hack. It's totally okay, so what evidence does the CIA or the American government or whoever it is, what evidence have they presented towards Russia hacking? They haven't presented absolutely any evidence. We have zero evidence, right? So the one thing we do have is we have Podesta email, which was shown on WikiLeaks. So we see how Podesta got hacked because he was phished. But so the evidence we have is this one so we have this one phishing attack that led to a bunch of DNC and Podesta emails getting publicly open, right? So we have 33,000 emails or whatever. None of this proves Russia did it. It's just, so there's no evidence linking any of this to Russia. That's just BS that the CIA is coming up with, similar to the BS we heard about the Cold War back in the day with the Soviet Union. So we don't have any evidence. We have this BS from the CIA, and then the same people or similar people, so the same Knights of Malta that are behind the CIA, you still have other spin-offs and similar Knights of Malta in the media and in powerful organizations that are having the media give us the frickin' Knights of Malta version, which is also BS, telling us that the CIA has evidence of this. No, they don't. They don't have any. Present the evidence. Show us the facts. You don't have any because it's total BS, just like the Cold War. So anybody who does research and kind of understands the scope and the perspective of this knows that it's total nonsense. But it's not just that. Let's take it a bit further. So this stuff came out on WikiLeaks, which is run by Julian Assange. And now he personally said the source of the emails are not from Russia, right? So he is running a website which has 100% track record of all the data always being accurate, right? He's never had anything that's being shown as not being accurate, right? So this is a very trustworthy guy. He hasn't been proven wrong. And he's saying the source of these WikiLeaks, right? These hacks, these emails that came out, it's not Russia. So this guy is telling us that it's not Russia. Look it up, go Google it. He's saying it's not Russia. But then we have the CIA, who is the least trustworthy group of people that you could listen to. And the media that is hearsaying what the CIA says, right? So they're reporting what the CIA says. So you have this CIA, which is a BS group, and then the media, which is just even more BS, telling us that it's Russia. It's like, who are you supposed to listen to? Like, are you that stupid that you can't put this together and figure out what's going on? It's not Russia, okay? So to kind of try to link that with absolutely no evidence and the track record of the BS history you've had, it just makes no sense, right? We heard the same story going into Iraq. Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, right? And we have this huge intelligence circle that they're just so smart and they know everything that's going on. And he's got these weapons of mass destruction and we have to do this and go in there and then fight this war and blah, 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 blah. It's the same exact thing. Problem, reaction, solution. They create a problem that they make up out of nowhere, complete BS. Saddam has weapons of mass destruction. That's BS, totally lie. They then go into the reaction, pisses people off. Oh, we got to do something. This guy is a terrible person, right? So now Russia, the reaction with them hacking. Oh, they're so bad. This is a terrible thing. We're going to have to do something about Russia, right? They're the scapegoat. And then you get the solution. The solution is to do whatever the freaking big brother tells you to do because they're your master, and shame on you for actually researching or having your own individual thought, right? So problem, reaction, solution. Same crap going on throughout history. You have the Iraq with weapons of mass destruction. It never turned out to be true. It doesn't matter. Now Russia's hacking. What evidence do they have? Freaking same freaking evidence they had for weapons of mass destruction. Nothing. You have a bunch of freaking Knights of Malta intelligence agencies telling you whatever they want to freaking tell you to get you to do whatever they want you to freaking do. And these organizations are the same freaking people that George Washington and the rest of them were fighting against in the Revolutionary War. Same families, same financiers behind it, right? So you have the same thing going on throughout history, and yet the people can't quite figure out what's going on. It's just crazy to me. So let's talk about these specific hacks that happened, right? So we don't really know what hacks happened. We know one thing that happened. If you look at one of the emails, it shows a clear phishing attempt that tricked John Podesta. John Podesta, he got an email from who knows where. It could have been a freaking 10-year-old because the level of the level of attack that this was so low and so beginner and elementary that for him to fall for it is just absurd. Like, okay, so they sent him an email saying that he doesn't have two-factor authentication on his account, so it's not as secure, right? Somebody could just get his password and log in. So he needs to enable two-factor authentication, which is basically where you can also have something come to your phone so you can verify there when you log in. It's more secure. This email wasn't from Google. It was somebody pretending to be Google. And it's just funny because in the freaking email itself, it has a link, like a shortened link that's not a Google link. It's clearly not a Google link. It's some short masked link that is clearly not Google, and if you click it, you don't know where it's going, right? So his IT guy looks at it and he says, yeah, you need to put two-factor authentication on. Go to this link. The IT guy gives him the real Google link, where if he would have gone to the Google link and done all the steps, whatever, set it up, he would have been fine, and he would have had 2FA on his account. But instead, because we're talking about baby boomers and IT, which don't really go together, John Podesta, not being too bright with freaking technology, he clicks the wrong link, despite what the IT guy tells him, because apparently to him it's all the same. He goes there and he freaking lands on a site that's not Google, that collects his information, So when he goes in there to type in his password to log into his Google account, he freaking logs into another website that now has his username and password. They go to Google and they got access to his emails. And that's kind of where a lot of this started. I'm sure there's lots of other stuff going on, but we're not really hearing about it, but whatever. It's Russia doesn't need to freaking do a little phishing hack to get in. That's like something a 10-year-old does. And to fall for it is something a 60-year-old does. So you have like baby boomer IT people that are complete morons clicking links from 10-year-olds that are just like trolling people. It's just absurd. And like somehow this is like, oh, sophisticated Russia, terrible, this is crazy. It's like they're making a story out of absolutely nothing. The story should be how computer illiterate John Podesta is, but whatever. So some things to think about with this though. So the media is not even specific about which hack there is, right? Because it's bullshit. So they don't have one. So they say hacks, Russia hacks, Russia hacks. I guess they're referring to the John Podesta phishing attempt that got his password. If you want to call that a hack, sure, but what other hacks? Or like, are we seeing like breaches of data? Are we seeing actual like hacks where you know you have lots of servers that are just pounding through and kind of doing brute force stuff? Or is it just like 10-year-old kiddie phishing stuff? It's like, what other hacks are there? And are we supposed to somehow believe that because of this, which has no evidence of Russia, which isn't, it's like kind of a hack, but it's just like anybody could do it, and the fall for it's pretty stupid. But now this is somehow linked to like, did Russia somehow affect the results because they hacked into the election results? Or did Russia somehow like sway public opinion? Or like, what is this even, what are they trying to insinuate? It makes no sense unless you're like a kid, but I don't get it. It's like they're trying to conflate everything together, and I'm pretty sure they're doing this on purpose because that's what the media likes to do, and they like to kind of fool the sheep. And a lot of times the sheep go for it. But it's pretty weird to me. So yeah, it's just kind of sad that they want to call that a hack and try to conflate it and try to trick everyone and all that kind of thing. But why, let's say, well, not even let's say. So we have access to these emails, right? Why are they even hiding this information to begin with? Like, do people even ask about that? So we hear about if you have nothing to hide, you wouldn't care, right? So these public officials, Hillary and them, why do you have stuff that's bad in your emails, right? Why do you have kind of these, so you have like kind of this private stuff that's hidden that you don't show transparently to the American people? Why do you have that in your emails to begin with? Like, what are you doing? Like, are you that bad of people that if you're somehow transparent with what you're supposedly doing for the American people, that it's bad? It's like, what? You can't show people what you're doing, and if they somehow see it, they realize how much of a freaking creep you are? That's crazy to me. So it's like, why don't we even think about that? It makes no sense, right? So, I don't know. I just think it's weird. And you hear about these, so say Russia's somehow influencing the election. It's like, everything influences everything. And if you're so stupid that something could change your mind that easily, then is that really, what does that say about you? If you can't have your own thought or decision making based on your own research. If somebody were to come up to you like Russia and they said, this is what happened, and you said, oh, okay, I'm gonna listen to you. It's like, what does that say about you? That you're just that mindless to where whatever kind of comes your way is now part of you, and you don't have really any discernment or any, like, you don't have any backbone to make your own decisions? Is that really what it's come to? Where anybody could just come up to you and say something and then, oh yeah, okay, got it, cool. I guess that's what they expect, but people aren't that stupid. Some are, but not everyone, and it's just, that's kind of weird to even insinuate that. So, I don't know. It's just, the whole thing's absurd. I just want to say that Hillary Clinton lost, right? Trump beat her fair and square. And of course, Hillary was the one for the people that are trying to recapture America, the people that have been against America for a long time, right? I'm talking about the secret societies and these religious institutions and all these kind of hidden people you don't hear about ever, right? So you have these high-level organizations that are above the banks, that are above the governments, and that have been around for a long time, interbreeding in their families, that come up with ways to control the sheep. And they're not happy about Trump because he presents a little bit of a threat to them. And it's not necessarily even Trump they're so mad about, because Trump's just one guy. And if he goes against the game plan to a degree that makes them mad, they'll just take him out like they have everyone, or not everyone, but like they have presidents in the past, right? So you don't play ball, you're gone. So they're not mad about him necessarily either. They're mad about the movement and the people behind Trump, because they know that Trump represents an awakening of people who are seeing through the media and the lies, and who want to reclaim America, who want to take away the parts of America that are hurting it, and they want to reclaim kind of individual freedom and this type of thing. And they know that their media empire is also collapsing, right? They don't have, it's like a 6% approval rating for the media. Like, nobody trusts the media. The mainstream media. Nobody trusts it except baby boomers, and baby boomers they're on their way out, and they're holding less and less sway. So you have all these young people like me who read the internet and research things and have lots of different sources for information, and it's harder to fool us. You can't use the same tricks. So your old tricks are not working, and that's what scares these people, right? So they are not happy with their old tricks not working, their media empire is going bankrupt, and then you have this internet, which is kind of more decentralized and distributed between lots of smaller people like me and others who can just say what they need to say, and you don't have to go through this whole kind of construct of these big companies and that kind of crap. And they're scared of that, and it's not going away. It's only growing. And this is why you hear about Russia hacking, and why you're going to hear about more and more freaking crap, and they're going to try to put it on Trump, or they're going to put it on his supporters, or they're going to put it on whatever they can to try to bring you under their control, to try to influence your mind to thinking that you're a bad person for wanting individual freedom, or for loving liberty, or for any of these things. They're just going to keep trying to make you guilty, like they do with all the other inventions that they've created. It used to be religion. It's been government for a while. Who knows what else they'll come up with next? They're just always going to make you the bad person for wanting to be yourself. And yeah, they are losing control with the media, and the internet is growing, so they better stop the internet quick. Otherwise, they're in a lot of trouble, because people are waking up, and Trump becoming president, which, by the way, Trump, he's not the greatest guy in the world by any means, right? He has tons of flaws, but at least he's not controlled completely by them, and at least he's not a complete pussy like all these other people who just go along with whatever the freaking media says, right? At least he has the balls to say what he wants and to go against the media every once in a while. And that's scaring them, and they're not happy about that, but that seems to be where the tide is shifting now. So continue to hear more about Russia hacking and whatever else the CIA can come up with, and all these other BS things from the Knights of Malta. So have a nice day, everyone, and good luck.